So, good morning, afternoon, evening, our esteemed speakers and participants, and welcome back to the Global Virtual Exchange Summit 2025. My name is Yan, and I'm honored to be your moderator for this panel discussion. And we have an exceptional lineup of experts joining us today to explore quality intercultural education for future-ready graduates. And please be reminded that the summit will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube for participants and viewers in different time zones. And we have a speaker from diverse background to share with us about their insights and expertise on quality intercultural education. And please join me to send our warmest welcome to the first speaker, Ms. Helena Ribeiro from Sao Paulo State University, Brazil. Ms. Helena Ribeiro, the floor is yours. Hello.
Hi,
Can
can
you
you
hear me?
see the
Yeah,
presentation?
yeah, I can. Yes. And I can also hear you clearly. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Um, I will talk about our research with the title Communities in Virtual Exchange, the Communication of Traditions in the Teletandem Project, which is supervised by Professor Laura Rampazzo. Well, it focuses on teletandem, that is a type of virtual exchange, and a pedagogical and research project that proposes an environment of teaching and learning foreign language which permits the interactions and intercultural communication among students through technological tools. And this project has been connecting students from São Paulo State University, UNESP, and the universities abroad since 2006. Well, the aims of this research is analyze how the transmission of project traditions occurs, how these relationships are established between the members of the teletandem community, and also the role they have for the project. But what is the teletandem community? It is a community formed by the participants, professors, mediators, and researchers. And initially, we consider that they have mutual interests and purpose, which is the improvement of the foreign language learning practice that occurs through sharing knowledge. And we said initially because our research will confirm or not this definition. Here I bring the criteria of the teletandem community that are being used for data analysis, which was defined by Silva in 2012, who proposed that students from the teletandem community, and thus defined the 6 criteria that define this community. And Professors Rampazzo and Aranha in 2019 made the review of these criteria, in which they included the grouping of professors, mediators, and researchers as part of the teletandem community, along with the students participating. And they also added 2 more criteria that defined the teletandem community nowadays. So we related some criteria to the relations developed between the members of the community, especially those that are related with the objectives of the research. As for example, the criterion 1, the teletandem community are formed due to similar interests, common goals, and because their members share common knowledge and practice. They develop genders to fulfill their purpose, which may or may not be the same of each member. The criterion 2, the interactions between its members are frequently carried out based on a process of cooperation or exchange, reciprocity, feedback, and the construction of knowledge, causing a feeling of belonging. And the criterion number 7. There is a hierarchy between the members of the teletandem community who are aware of the story and try to communicate their traditions to new members through tutorials and mediation sessions. Within this context, we are studying more specifically about the teletandem community formed in the School of Sciences and Languages, SLR, one of UNESP campus. And we are analyzing the interactions and communication of traditions between its old and new members, with a greater focus on students who have begun to act as mediators of the project. And for this, we have analyzed so far questionnaires applied to students who started acting as mediators and logbooks of training meetings for mediators and mediations during the teletandem. And we will still analyze an interview with a new mediator in the teletandem, which was one of the participants of the questionnaire applied, and also one of the mediators of the teletandem class analyzed, in order to have more accurate data for analysis. The partial results pointed that we noticed the existence of communication traditions between old and new members in the project, the presence of the creation of a relationship of reciprocity, and thus the feeling of belonging to these new members of the teletandem community. And here, I brought some data that we have already analyzed, which prove those three partial results that we noticed. First, from my logbook, I wrote the following. During the training meetings, the new mediators were presented with the rules that guided the interactions between teletandem community members, which were being presented to them during the meetings. And one example that I noted was when presented and explained to them about the guiding principles of teletandem, which are in continuous use and must be followed by all members of the teletandem community. So here we can see that this indicates that there is communication of traditions between old and new members in the project. And from the questionnaire, I choose the answer of participant 1 for the question 8 that says, in a few words, explain what motivated your previous response. For question 7 that says, would you say that your interactions with other members involve reciprocity and exchange of knowledge? So the participant 1 answer. Every time that I talk to other members of the community, they are helpful and friendly. Also, being new in the project, I learned a lot about how teletandem works and its goals with other members. Here we can also see that exists the communication of traditions between old and new members in the project. Another another note that I made in the logbook was when I was observing the comments of the new mediators during the last meeting of the year 2024. And one of these new mediators commented that she had a lot of support from the teletandem team, that she was building a support network of people who were already part of teletandem before her. Here we can see that she created a support network for herself with more experienced members of the community who have been educated and concerned about the needs of this new member. Thus, this demonstrated the creation of a relationship of reciprocity and a feeling of belonging. And finally, from the questionnaire, analyzing the answers of the participants 1 and 2 for the question 8 again, we can notice also that exists the creation of this relationship of reciprocity and feeling of belonging, because the answer, participant 1, every time that I talk to other members, they are helpful and friendly. And participant 2 said, both in the oral presentation interaction sessions as participant and in the training mediations meeting, there was reciprocity and exchange of knowledge. It is quite enriching to participate because I always learn something new. So we can see that both these participants use the situations of their own experience to show us that existed um, this reciprocity in the teletandem community, and thus we can also notice the feeling of belonging. So these data presented were just some of the evidence that prove our partial results from the logbooks and the questionnaire. And I don't have yet the data analysis of the interviewed, but that's it. Here are my references, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Helena Ribeiro. So thanks for your sharing about the communication tradition between our new member and the old members. And next, may we now invite the team that involved Dr. Laura Rampazzo from Sao Paulo State University, Brazil, and Dr. Diego Prodo from University Latino America, Mexico. Doctor, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Diana. Diego is sharing the screen for us. So.
Perfect. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can see it, Diego. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for the opportunity of being here with you today. The title of our presentation is Learners' Autonomy in Virtual Exchange, Challenges and Opportunities in Asynchronous Experiences. We're sharing a bit of our experience, the experience that we had promoting and running a virtual exchange this semester between São Paulo State University and Universidad Latina de América. Diego?
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. So as Laura mentioned, this was a shared project between these two universities, and our presentation is basically covering 5 different points. So we were intending our participants to learn about the SDGs, and then we're going to cover also which ones were the questions that we wanted to get answers from as we saw participants getting involved in this project, and then some of the procedures, and finally, which ones are the possibilities and opportunities that are in these sort of activities. We must say that this project was basically asynchronous, though we still had like the presence of students in the classrooms.
Yeah, thank you, Diego. So about the project, here we have a brief description. Actually, Helena, who's here, who just presented, was also one of our participants in this project. It was actually a classroom integrated virtual exchange, meaning that participants in both sides were enrolled in a course and participated in the virtual exchange as part of their courses. And in both sides, in Mexico and Brazil, they were enrolled in an integrated skills in English course. Here in Brazil, students were majoring in languages, both bachelor and teaching degrees, and in Mexico, students were majoring in different areas, but they were all studying English. Our main goal here, as Diego said, was to offer learners the opportunity to engage in cross-cultural discussion around the SDGs. We wanted them to get to know the Sustainable Development Goals while also using English as a means of communication.
Thank you. And as you can see here, basically our project consisted of 3 different phases. The first one was for us to prepare our students for this experience. This required this in-classroom preparation in which we help the students to, get to know the platforms that we were going to use, and also like allow them or give them an introduction for those who didn't know anything about the SDGs. So we gave them some introduction on that. And then we, of course, also encourage the students to get to know each other. Then they needed to choose an SDG. And the final product for this project was for them to create an infographic, which was the result of discussion between participants. And also we wanted them to have this perspective in which they could share what happened in their country, meaning in Brazil, and what happened in Mexico. We wanted them to make this contrast. And the final phase, of course, was the evaluation of this experience. Also, we opted for the asynchronous format in this regard because there were some challenges with regards to the time zones. We know that also for virtual exchange activities, and the time differences are quite a thing. And we consider that this format, and also given the number of participants, which were around 70 participants, would help us, to conduct this activity better if we just did it in an asynchronous format.
And because of that, because learners would have a lot more flexibility to take decisions and act on them, we were interested into investigating how autonomous they were in conducting their experiences in this virtual exchange, and also the changes and adaptations that we as instructors had to make throughout the project to accommodate to their needs. In case they were not completing the task, or they were too demanding, or anything that we had to adapt in order to make them make it possible for them to work together, considering the time differences and the fact that they were not communicating one-on-one, but instead in smaller groups in which they had to also adjust to their partners, their peers' time availability.
That's right. And also we collected some data, and we also were preparing some diaries in which we were documenting our experiences. And the fact that we have been working together with Dr. Laura Rampazzo has made it simpler and easier to understand what we need with regards to our university needs, and also to our learners' needs. So it was easier for us just to think or come up with a project that could help our students in doing this part of internationalization of their programs, and also like having these international experiences. So we believe that this helped us a lot. Also, what we did was basically, aside from our using our diaries, what we did was like we allowed the students to make some autonomous decisions, as they had to read or consult some information in this project. We actually used the platform to basically to put all the information that we needed for the project, and then students were able to read or to consult information as they needed. But as one of these boxes mentions, some of the students needed some reminders on what to do and how to do it, because at some point they just needed like this guidance so they can complete activities.
Yeah, and so to illustrate a bit of our challenges and the opportunities that we had, we went back to these diaries that we had written throughout the exchange itself, since the planning phase until the evaluation phase. And here we're presenting some of the challenges that we faced and the adaptations that we had to make as well. So one thing that we want to point out is that despite the platform structure, despite the training that learners have received in-person help from us, the facilitators, we still often had to remind them to complete each activity. As Diego said, we had around 70 participants in this virtual exchange, so it was a lot for us to keep track of as well. And while some students were keeping track of the deadlines and meeting deadlines, others had to be constantly reminded of it. The platform that we used, that Diego has mentioned briefly, was Canvas. It was for us a cost-effective and easy to use platform. The layout is quite simple to use. It offered us some features. We could group them and make it easier for the people in their teams to communicate without communicating to everyone. But there were some complaints from students who faced some challenges navigating the platform, which they were not super used to.
Exactly. And also, thank you, Laura. With regards to this, even though the platform is really structured, I would say some students then needed some additional help. When we were in the classrooms, for instance, we just like helped them to get usernames and passwords, and then just sometimes people lost them. And it was hard for them just to log back into a very simple platform, right? And also, they even mentioned that they had some issues to find ways to contact their peers. Even though there are like emails over there, or you have options to message your partners in a course on Canvas, then it was hard for them to basically contact them. And it was something that we were surprised about, because we tend to believe that these new generations often have this literacy in these platforms. However, they showed that they actually needed like to be guided through the whole process. Also, as the second challenge was like the peer communication. Even though we're not in a very different time zone, still students really couldn't find a way to communicate, especially when we encourage the possibility of having a one-on-one meeting, probably just to get to know the partner before making a decision on which HCG they needed to use in their project and discuss. It was hard for them to do that as well. And we believe that there were some motivation issues as well, because on the side of the Brazilian side, I'm sorry, the some students had already participated in virtual exchange, whereas here in Mexico, some of them had never participated in one before. So though there were some students that were motivated, there were some other ones that still thought that it was an extra thing that they didn't really need to do. So that was one of the challenges that made it a little bit complicated for us and for the students as well.
Thank you, Diego. However, we also noticed some opportunities, even with the challenges that we faced. Or because of the challenges, we also had some opportunities to have in-class discussions. And these promoted some reflection on the challenges that they mentioned in the logs that they were also completing every week. And here we could notice that some students were contributing with some suggestions, solutions, and others were relying a lot more on us to provide the answers and the ways. How is it that we can communicate with our peers? What is it? What strategy can we use? Also, another opportunity that we noticed was the opportunity to reflect on identity, differences, and also cross-cultural communication. Again, not only the opportunity to interact with the peers abroad, but we also understand that the challenges provided the space for this, for the reflections on students' identities, the cultural differences, and also communication across borders. And in turn, we believe that this have led to the development of some intercultural communication skills, as they were able to reflect on the differences in communication style, and also the differences that come with their own cultural identity and personal identity as well.
That's right. So we believe also that making these sort of asynchronous opportunities for students to engage in these activities, and we can also include platforms that can make learning more interesting, or also like more dynamic, we would say. Like the Canvas platform, for instance, can allow you to insert videos or word wall activities that can make the experience much more interactive for the students. And we believe that that's a possibility. But also, whenever we're talking about an asynchronous course, we think that it's important for students to be part of a community. So we should design these sorts of activities that can help them be truly connected with their peers so they can actually see that they're working with real people on the other side of the screen. And actually, then they can just like become closer. So that way, collaboration can be made simpler. And finally, just to wrap this up, I think we're running out of time, Laura, but we also believe that these are sort of experiences and are a great way to overcome the challenges that we have with the time zone differences, and it's a great way to work with the digital internationalization strategy in our institutions. But it's quite crucial then to think that our students might need some additional help, and then this also takes us back to the questions that we have. That though students show some autonomy, then they still need to be reminded. They still need some guidance, and of course they need the professors to be there to actually complete the experiences and the activities. And Laura, you have a final comment just to wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Diego. So as Diego was saying, some students, they demonstrate some autonomy and they were autonomous in make most of the decisions, but we also need to be there as facilitators, as instructors, providing some help in offering guidance. Also, just to point out, no major changes were made to the program structure. We only placed some greater emphasis on communication with students to ensure that they were not having challenges that they could not overcome. So yes, I think we're running out of time. So thank you for listening, and thank you, Diego, for sharing the floor here with me.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for your sharing about the SDG-driven virtual exchange projects, and also share about the challenges that students have encountered when they're learning through the virtual exchange. So now, may we now invite Dr. Lombuso Khoza from Howard Community College, United States of America. Doctor, please.
All right. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. So I'd like to share about my experience participating in an event with an organization called COIL Connect. And this is an organization that works with communities globally in terms of connecting them, preparing them for having collaborative online international learning. So I participated in this event because I was interested in expanding our COIL participation across the campuses. So we have our mascot is a dragon, so we want to encourage STEM dragons abroad. So we're looking at the importance of engaged learning in an interconnected world. So we are located, as shared, in the United States, the state of Maryland, and in the county called Howard. And we're in between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. So in terms of what HCC is all about, that is Howard Community College, we provide 2-year degrees and certificates programs for careers that students can participate in that are in demand. We provide many locations for students to have the opportunity to be engaged in learning and use different types of formats. Close to 20,000 students now, both credit and non-credit. So the institution has been around since 1970. And we have 4 academic divisions: liberal studies, foundational learning, health and sciences, and business and engineering technology. And I just wanted to share what my office does in terms of supporting international initiatives across campus. We support study abroad, the collaborative online international learning, cultural campus events, and we have a global distinction program where students can take 15 credits worth of courses in globally competent areas. So we want to make sure that students have a diverse perspective, they gain the global content so that they have those international experiences and gain those skills. So we've been involved with COIL since 2021, and our partners have spanned the globe from Venezuela all the way through to Hong Kong in the different areas of sociology, English, and Chinese, and highlighting the COIL projects, which a lot of you have been doing. But this was based specifically in the humanities and the general education core curriculum. So I'm going to share, as I mentioned, about my experiences with COIL Connect and how I intend to expand COIL into the science, technology, engineering, and math areas. So these are the two divisions that I'd like to focus on in terms of supporting our students: health sciences, life sciences, physical sciences, business, cybersecurity, computer science, hospitality, and engineering. And as the theme goes through with this global summit, we want to make sure our students are ready, competent, career ready to be able to do what they needed to as creators, problem solvers, all those to support the industry. So in terms of the methodology here, I shared earlier, I participated in this COIL Startup Institutional Development Program. And the main project was to create a program that we can actually implement. So I'm looking at implementing this program beginning the next academic year so that we can provide training, prepare our faculty, work with these different partners across campus, because we all know that senior leadership has to be part of what you do, helping them understand the importance of working with our other campus partners as a faculty, staff, the assessment office for assessing the experience, IT support, and most importantly, addressing project sustainability, because it's exciting to start a new program. However, how does it continue? And having that buy-in from faculty at always. So as I shared, targeting the STEM disciplines and those different areas so that students are able to utilize their strengths in learning how to be COIL efficient, if you will. So the purpose of targeting the projects, it would include intercultural awareness, which Diego and Lyra have shared in the previous presentation, improve digital literacy, enhance communication skills, problem-solving global skills, development of transference skills, and a deeper knowledge of the STEM discipline. So students want to be cybersecurity experts, they want to be engineers, they want to be known for their health sciences, life sciences, and so on, but they need a deeper knowledge. So if they're able to work with other students around the world, then it will give them those global competencies that they need to be able to meet the demands of an interconnected world. So we want our students to be global focused and have career ready skills. So my intention is to involve 4 faculty initially in the STEM areas, and then getting the students that are enrolled in those courses to be part of the COIL projects, partnering with individuals around the world. And the COIL Connect is, I'll share the link later on, but this organization provides free access. You can look for partners to work with. Like I joined initially for the free access, and they send you emails at least once a week. You get messages of a university that wants to partner with another university, or community college wanting to partner with another community college. So this is a good base for me to be able to learn about this process and have our college be looking for other partners around the world. So the feedback that we gain through our assessment, I like for it to be utilized to enhance our future COIL projects, because it's not just STEM. There also, we have a hospitality program where students are making pastries. So being able to communicate with other individuals will help them gain those skills as well. So ultimately, we want our students to gain those global competencies so they can successfully navigate the world, which is increasingly interconnected. Our faculty will be able to gain a diverse network through these virtual experiences because they're connecting with other faculty around the world, they're sharing, exchanging ideas. And most of all, the college will be known for being able to support these kinds of programs and scaling them, because high impact practices are very important because we want our students to be engaged in our learning continuously. So this is just a little bit of what it is that I am planning to do, and I'm hoping that at the next summit, I can share the results and successes of this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doctor, for your sharing about a project involving students from diverse background, which is, I think, very challenging. And next, may we now have the presentation from a team that involved Professor SUSANA MARÍA Company from University Catholic de Seto, Argentina, and Professor Anita Dick Cullen, Wesleyan University, United States of America. Professors, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
All right. So first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's so wonderful to get to learn what other colleagues are doing in different parts of the world. So I wanted to share a project that we have been carrying out for a couple of years now. I'm going to refer to our latest experience in 2024 with my colleague Anita Dick Carling from Wesleyan University. I'm a teacher of English as an international language based in Salta, which is in the northwest of Argentina. So this presentation was thought of as a poster presentation. So this is the poster we have prepared for today. And then I'm going to zoom into some of the sections I wanted to highlight for today's conversation. So, preparing students for the complexities of an interconnected world requires meaningful educational practices that develop intercultural awareness, global collaboration skills, and critical thinking, as our colleagues were mentioning just a moment ago. This presentation shares insights from a 2024 collaborative online international learning or COIL project between Universidad Católica de Salta and Wesleyan University. The initiative promoted key skills such as intercultural communication, empathy, and perspective taken. This poster outlines the theoretical foundations, planning stages, activity design, and the learning outcomes, or some of the learning outcomes of this latest COIL experience. It argues that structured international collaboration can strengthen intercultural competence and academic engagement, contributing to a more inclusive and globally aware educational model. So in terms of the rationale, as my colleagues were mentioning a moment ago, COIL is a pedagogical approach that connects teachers and students from different countries and academic disciplines to engage in joint learning projects. COIL experiences strive to provide teachers and students with international experiences that mirror 21st century work and study environments. That is cross-cultural, project-based, and virtual. They foster the development of intercultural communicative competence, following, of course, Byram, Liddicoat, and Scarino, among others, scholars, Darla Deardoff, while incorporating elements of creativity and global citizenship. In this experience, students from both institutions collaborated in English on intercultural themes, co-designed presentations, and reflected on global and local perspectives through asynchronous and synchronous interactions. Both groups were undergraduate groups. Students at Universidad Católica de Salta, or UCASAL for short, were taking a literature class, whereas American students were taking a class on Introduction to Global Engagement. That, of course, meant that students in Argentina did have to slightly digress from their syllabus, their schedule, but with the understanding that this experience was so interesting and enriching for their overall education. So the experience is based on a variety of educational pillars. Some of them are connected to the educational model of our university. Some of those pillars, not all of them included here, but the most important ones, the internationalization of the curriculum, student at the center of the learning experience, and a competence-based training approach were central to the design of this experience. At its core, COIL methodology places students at the center of the learning experience, encouraging them to take an active role in knowledge construction through intercultural dialogue and collaborative tasks. By working on joint projects with peers from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds, students develop higher order skills such as critical reflection, analysis, evaluation, and perspective taking. Those, of course, are essential competencies in today's world, we believe. So the design and assessment of these activities were informed by principles ensuring that each component, task, interaction, feedback, reflection, contributed to competence development. Moreover, COIL serves as a concrete strategy for international experiences, embedding global dimensions into both content and pedagogy. Rather than requiring physical mobility, COIL uses technology-mediated exchange to bring global perspectives into the classroom and cultivate a sense of global citizenship. In terms of the model of intercultural competence that we aligned to, or we worked more closely with, is Liddicoat and Scarinos because of its flexibility. So this project aligns with this four-phase model of developing intercultural competence as it guides students and teachers through a process of observing, analyzing, and engaging with cultural diversity. So noticing occurs as students are exposed to cultural elements embedded in communication styles, academic norms, and experiences shared by their international peers. Comparing follows naturally as students begin to relate these observations to their own cultural frameworks. Through asynchronous discussions and co-designed presentations, participants contrasted traditions, social expectations, language use, and worldview differences, drawing parallels and distinctions between local and global contexts. Then reflecting is encouraged throughout the experience through guided prompts, reflective journals, and group discussions. This phase enables students to analyze critically how they interpret cultural differences, question their assumptions, and become aware of their own cultural positioning. It also fosters an understanding of how one's responses to difference are shaped by deeper cultural factors. Finally, interacting, the final phase, takes shape as students apply their intercultural understanding in meaningful collaborative tasks. In our case, as we are going to see in a moment, both an interview and an infographic. Working together on joint projects requires communication, adaptability, patience, and co-construction of knowledge across cultural boundaries. These interactions, we believe, promote empathy, negotiation, and mutual respect. In terms of project organization, planning was organized into 5 phases. The first one, planning and design, a faculty from both institutions, that is Anita and myself, collaboratively defined the objectives of the COIL, aligned academic calendars, and designed activities that we could both share, adapting, as I said before, our schedules to this project. This phase also included selected appropriate technology platforms for synchronous and asynchronous communication and clarifying roles and expectations for both teachers and students. That's a very interesting point. I've had different experiences. And for example, if a group of students are not graded on the experience, on the COIL experience, they might not participate as actively as students who are graded. So discussing those roles and expectations is very important. Also, in this phase, each instructor prepared students for intercultural collaboration and introducing students to the concept of COIL, project goals, communication tools, etc. In a second phase, we had the ice-breaking task and the virtual session. This phase, or phase 2 and phase 3, took about 4 weeks total. So the virtual meeting was structured around UNESCO's Story Circles methodology. I don't know whether you're familiar with it. It's a strategy developed as part of UNESCO's efforts to foster intercultural dialogue and global citizenship education. It provides a safe, inclusive space for individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds to share personal experience, listen actively, and reflect on multiple perspectives. Darla Dearduff is an expert in this methodology. In these meetings, students from both institutions were organized into small, mixed cultural groups and guided through the structured phases of the Story Circles process, which is, I'm going to repeat, quite structured. So when actually monitoring the interaction, we are usually not as structured as instructions suggest. In this case, the prompt for the interaction in each breakout room was sharing a story about a time students felt a sense of belonging, or the opposite, to their nation. So, for example, in the case of Argentinian students, they usually mention something in connection to soccer or to Messi, and they build their stories from there. Following each story, students practiced deep listening, refraining from interruptions or debate, and then engaged in a round of reflection where they discussed what resonated with them and how their perspectives might have shifted. I forgot to mention here that before this virtual session, there was an ice-breaking task using Padlet that some of the colleagues were mentioning as a possibility. I strongly suggest Padlet. Padlet allows you to be interactive, it's quite informal, and it's a wonderful icebreaker for students to get to know one another and to reduce anxiety before a synchronous session. So after those 2 moments of interaction via Padlet first, via Zoom later on, we moved into phase 3, which was the collaborative task development, and that also had 2 moments. First, an interview they could conduct via email or using WhatsApp, or any other form of video call, just as Meet or Zoom, so as to allow students the room to decide how they felt most comfortable. And they talked about a topic of common interest related to sustainable development goals. So most of the groups worked on something connected to education or rights of women around the world. And after that interview, which in the case of Argentinian students, they did present as a deliverable, they also designed in binational groups an infographic, which they present as the final project. Later, students also reflected on the experience as a whole, on some of the challenges they experienced. For example, as I mentioned before, in connection to for example, a challenge to get in touch with students from Wesleyan University. But overall, the experience was extremely positive. And in phase 5, my colleague Anita and I got together to debrief and reflect on the experience and work on ideas to improve it for this year, actually, in the second semester, that is around October, November again. For example, one of the comments that we got from students is that they would have liked to get together as a whole group at least once more before working independently via WhatsApp or Meet on the interviews and infographic. So they felt they needed the monitoring and teachers as facilitators in that at least once more, which is something that we are going to do. So we are getting close to the end of the presentation. I wanted to finish by saying that COIL fosters a mindset of global engagement and positive interdependence, equipping students with the intercultural competencies essential for navigating today's diverse and interconnected world. Both positive and challenging experiences were learning experiences in general terms. So by integrating project-based and critical intercultural pedagogies, COIL encourages learners to value diverse perspectives, engage meaningfully with peers from different cultural and linguistic backgrounds, and reflect critically on local and global issues. Structured virtual collaboration can enhance intercultural communication, digital collaboration, and empathy, key attributes of future-ready graduates. Through COIL, students and faculty engage in transformative learning that contributes to the internationalization of the curriculum and the cultivation of ethical, respectful, and globally conscious professionals. So thank you very much for your patience, and if you felt interested in continue the conversation, here's my email for you.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you all speakers for sharing your experience on virtual exchange and your insight on how to provide quality education, especially intercultural education, to equip our students to be future leaders. And we now open the floor for questions. For audience or participant, feel free to share your question. And if you'd like to ask the question directly, you may raise your virtual hand and unmute your microphone and ask question. Or you could simply share your question online through the chat room, directly? So, any question? Or maybe I take the opportunity to ask the first questions to speaker, a particular to Dr. Laura Rampazzo as well as Dr. Diego Prodo, because you mentioned that to some certain extent, the level of student autonomy will affect the whole virtual exchange experience. And based on your experience, what particular practice, or you can call it best practice, that you have experienced that could recommend to us as educator, aiming at promoting learner autonomy as well as enhancing their learning experience as well?
Thank you, Diana, for your question. Diego, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, well, thank you so much. I believe that it's crucial for professors to work really well on the designing of the platform, and also the layout of the activities, and also the instructions should be super clear for participants to know what to do. I think it's actually, essential for everyone just to, for every single participant to join the platform and then see exactly what they need to do. I believe that's why, like, it's one of the advantages of using Canvas that can allow you just to basically set up dates and everything for students to easily see what happens next. So we actually have a very well structured, platform to rely on, but also like defined, very well defined. I'm sorry, set of instructions. I think that can help the students just to log in the platform at any time and then just to try to follow intuitively the way in which they should be doing activities. But again, it depends on how students interact with these sorts of platforms as they are doing these activities on their own. Laura, do you have a point?
Yeah, I agree with you, Diego, and I would just add, invest in communication and training, and as Susana was saying earlier, also grading students. They were being graded for their participation, so this is some motivation to complete and be autonomous and make things work.
Thank you. And it also addressing or asking question to Dr. Khoza, because your student involved from diverse discipline and background, and their expectation will maybe totally different. So what challenges did you face when you implement such kind of diverse background or virtual exchange, which also involve STEM component? So what challenge did you face and how did you address those challenges?
Well, since it's a first time, I haven't done it yet. So I'm learning from my colleagues here what experiences they've had so that I can anticipate that. I think Diego, Laura, and Susana have shared the challenges they face. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of things I can adjust ahead of time. I foresee challenges definitely because it is STEM. It's not atypical like the liberal arts programs, but I look forward to it. So thank you for the question, though. Can I ask a question now?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, I'd like to ask my colleagues here who just presented what connected you both? Because we have Mexico, we have Argentina, we have Wesleyan and Brazil. How did you connect with each other?
Feel free to answer the question. So for the connection.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was actually waiting on that. In my case, Laura and I connected through a virtual uh, conference that was called IBEC in 2021. So we ended up like becoming very good partners, and then we've been working ever since. And actually, we use that as a platform to connect with other people as well. And then we have implemented several other projects with other individuals from the same country or different countries. And but yeah, our connection comes up to
Yes, thank you, Diego. In the case of Anita and I, we also met at a conference organized by the World Council on Intercultural and Global Competence, which is a wonderful platform to get to know people interested in these kinds of intercultural competencies. And we just got in touch through the chat, and we have been working together ever since.
Yeah, and from our HKBU VC, we also have a matching pilot that help connect different professor, doctor from different countries to work together. And if you like to join, you can also leave your information on our matching pilot so that we can do collaboration for later on. So there is a question on the chat room. So there's the question to all or any speaker. What was the most difficult aspect in terms of assessment, evaluation when you do the COIL?
Well, assessment, I'm going first. I don't know if Laura has a different idea or can help me here. But assessment is very complex, especially when it comes to intercultural competencies. I'm actually following Dr. Lidicote and Dr. Scarino, as I mentioned before, because their models both for the development of intercultural competence and also their framework for assessment are so flexible, I find it. So we have developed rubrics based on Lidicote and Scarino's frameworks, which are quite open, but they do guide you into shorter and longer term assessment of these experiences. But it's definitely a very challenging aspect of these experiences. And I think the way we are organizing it is through a portfolio so as to assess progress and not only the end result.
Thank you, Susan. I do agree with you. It's important to assess the whole process, not only focus on the product. And I believe that the most difficult thing about assessment is defining the instruments that you'll be using to assess students, which actually connects also to the goals of your virtual exchange. So for Diego and I, for instance, we were interested in having students communicating with each other and also learning about the SDGs. So for us, it was important to have them presenting a product, but also observing how they were completing the tasks, which is why we also asked them to complete weekly learner logs. We were not really assessing the quality of their answers there, but their participation. I'm not sure if this answers the question. Diego, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Actually, well, I don't. I just want to point back to one of the points that you mentioned that, of course, it would depend definitely on the objectives that you have. Also, like if you want to, like even evaluate like the enrollment experience or like the preparation experience or like the actual products. I mean, you can. I mean, evaluation or assessment itself can take many paths, but then it depends on what you want to the results that you want to get. So it's definitely a very open question, I would say, for this part. It depends basically on what you want to measure.
And I found, based on not the STEM side, but what we're currently doing, there are two things that I find are missing. We always look at numbers, so everything is always quantitative. And sometimes we'll miss the story of what the students is experiencing. I don't know if Helena is a student. So the voice can get lost because we're saying, 20% of the student did this, 2 did this, and so that gets lost. And I don't know if any of you, my colleagues, have assessed faculty experiences, because we don't do that. It's all student focused, because I think it's good to hear the voice of the faculty as well, because they do a lot of it on that side. So those are the two things I'm finding.
Thank you. And there is another question to all the speaker. How do you manage the different time zones of each country, where students also made to adjust the time difference? And I remember there's one of the challenges that student may struggle about the communication due to the time differences. So what are your response?
Okay, so in our case, there's a 2-hour difference with Wesleyan University, and we found it quite accessible to adjust because synchronous sessions were only 1 or 2, depending on the semester, and the rest of the work was asynchronous. As for the time in which students met for their interviews, they organized that according to their schedules.
We also had a similar experience. In fact, we, as Diego was saying, we opted for the asynchronous format mostly because of the difference in time zones. Diego is 3 hours behind us, and this was a challenge for our students. We have some students here in Brazil who take classes in the evening, others in the morning. So what we did was to ask students for their time availability and try to group them according to matching availability. So this was not always possible, but just as Susana mentioned, once we grouped them, they were the ones deciding if they were meeting synchronously when they would do so.
We had I think like Laura and Diego shared the motivation part of it. We've had very motivated students, particularly working with Hong Kong and China. So it was once a week they would get together and commit to being, online at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So that we were fortunate with that aspect, but I can imagine the challenges, even if it's 2 hours different. So I think it will be a constant challenge.
Thank you. And now let's check if there is any additional question from the audience. I think maybe due to the time, as we approach to the end of our section, I would like to take a moment to thank all speakers for sharing your invaluable insights and your experience with us today. And I appreciate the audience participation, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming section of this summit. And we also value your opinion. Please fill out the feedback form that show on the share screen. Yes, you can scan the QR code and provide the feedback to us. And don't forget to leave your request for COIL collaboration on our matching palettes as mentioned earlier. Thank you. So please feel free to provide feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, thank you very much for your sharing and all participant participations today.
Good
And
night.
good
Thank
night.
you.
Yeah.
It's time
Yeah,
to.
yeah. And for some of them, maybe you're still in the daytime. So I would invite you to join our keynote section or panels discussion section later on. Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye
A good
bye. Take
night.
care.
Bye.
Good night. Bye
It's
bye.
midnight. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
No pumpkins, please.
Yeah, nice to
Thank
meet you
you.
you.
anyway.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Take care.
bye.